Everybody, it's Annette from The Art of Intuition, and today we are going to talk about making money versus generating money. And I haven't done a money one for a while. I haven't done a lot of videos this past month. I've been working on another project that I've had to have complete vacancy of the house to do. So my video time has started going toward that project. So I had extra time today, so I wanted to come on and kind of catch up a little bit with the video. And this is the one that I actually came up with the other day, and I kind of texted to myself so I remember what I want to talk about. And this is the one that kept coming up, so I'm like, all right, I'm not going to make this super long because I've talked about money stuff a lot. And it's funny, every time there are two camps when you talk about money. The camp that doesn't want to hear anything about it because everything should be free in the mythical realms, or if they want to call them the higher realms, or the camp that doesn't really want to hear that it has to change. So either way, normally when you talk about money, it's not what people want to hear, but it's important because it's a very much a adjustment period. You know, so I think not talking about it does it a big disservice because people have a lot of misconceptions about it. We're going to tackle, I guess we'll tackle the first group first, that everything, all of spirituality should be free. Everything should, all the soul work should not involve money. I remember there was a person years ago, I went to a workshop, and one of the things he said was you should never take your passion and try to make it a business, right? Because then you lose your passion for it because you put pressure on it. Because it has to generate funds to, to pay for everything, your lifestyle. And there's a part to that I think is correct. But as you go, and that's more to me when you're dabbling in spirituality. I'm going to use spirituality because we kind of move out of spirituality and you become more spirit informed. But that's through your ascension journey. Spirituality is kind of the gateway. It's the gateway to ascension, right? It is not ascension. Anyone who's still stuck in that spirituality and is still really into saying they're ascended, it is two different things. It is just the beginning, because spirituality is you have a connection to it. It's not you are it. There's a difference in how it's explained. There is more market in spirituality than it is in ascension. That's why a lot of people kind of stay there for a long time, because you have everything that falls into that. You have mediumship, you have spirit guides. I mean, you have a lot of things that fall under that umbrella that people kind of stay in. Paranormal will also fall in under that. So you have a lot of people who are attracted to that and they stay in that. So I do think there is a point when it is a point when you try to take your passion and make it a moneymaker, you lose the passion for it, because now it's no longer something you can do for freedom. Now you have to have constrictions around it. You see a lot of that with artists, right? That become really popular. They want to do it this way because this is what they're passionate about, but then you have people saying, well, that's not what people want to see. They want to see you doing this role or singing this music. They don't want to see you doing this. That's not the moneymaker. That's not going to give you the what the investors want, in a sense. So, okay. But you do move out of that phase. So there is a phase in awakening and in ascension where you kind of still have a fairly normal job, right? And there's some people will actually maybe lose that job or get ripped from that job, decide to quit that job, and then it's like, okay, now what do I do? And that's when support comes from a lot of different places. And that's when we start getting into living in unity consciousness, maybe living with groups of people, and you're doing a lot of household work, and other people bring money to the table because they're still doing things that are bringing money in, or they've reached a certain part in their ascension where they are generating money. You go from making money to generating money. Making money, there's a human component to that. Making money for a purpose, making money to sustain yourself. Generating money is more of an energetic flow. You're generating money. You're not doing one specific thing. It's just your energy field is generating money. Now, it might not mean it's coming from one paycheck. It might mean it's coming from a lot of different ways. It might be generating money in the example I just gave, where you're living in a household where you might be doing a lot of the chores or doing something else, and someone else is bringing in the money. You're still generating money to live, but you're not making it in that human, I don't know the word I want to use here, in that human thread, in that human normalization of way to make money. But you're still generating it. And a lot of people don't like this phase of ascension because you're not generating it the way you want it to be generated. You know, we're very used to the very linear way. You know, you make money this linear way. This is how you make money, no matter what you're doing. You know, it doesn't matter if you're delivering pizzas or a CEO, you're making money, and you take that money and you spend it on things that make you comfortable. And yeah, there are people who give a percentage of it away, but normally people never give the percentage of it away that they could give away. They give a percentage of it they're not going to miss, whatever that is, and that's going to be dwindling down for a lot of people. You know, if you're a billionaire, you always see how much money they give away, but they're still able to be billionaires even though they're giving away a lot of money. You know, they give away what they feel comfortable giving away without it hampering their lifestyle, right? And that number's gonna be different for everybody. But as you go through ascension, you start to learn that money is no longer for you anymore. And it doesn't mean you won't be supported. It doesn't mean you will not have funds. It means you can't use those funds to then go back and double down back on a human realm to support human unconsciousness. And maybe that's a better way to put it, right? To support human unconsciousness, to support a human lifestyle where it's all about what I want. You know, I see a lot of people talking about all the money that, you know, they want to be able to take this metaphysical concept or this higher consciousness concept. But when you hear what they're going to use it for, well, I want to do this, I want to get this house, and they don't have the connection yet with what can it do for the collectives. It's still what can it do for me. And there's no reason to beat yourself up when you're at that phase, because we all go through that phase. We have learned that phase from our human existence. Who else is going to support us if we do not support ourselves? You know, who else is going to take care of us in a sense if we are not generating money or we're not making money? We haven't learned yet to just generate it in our field. But because it doesn't come a certain way, we don't feel like we're generating money. Because we're not the ones solely responsible for bringing it in the linear way, we don't see it as we're doing it. You know, you're still generating compensation in some way. You're just not doing it the old linear way. So we kind of discount it in a sense. They go, we're not able to generate anything. And a lot of the stuff that we do is not valued by human consciousness. You know, so you see a lot of people that will do so many things for years for the collectives and put out a lot of stuff, because for a while a lot of us will do a lot of stuff for free. There's a lot of reason for that. I mean, you know, you're paying back your abundance, you're kind of clearing your abundance karma on when you were selfish too. We can all look back and be like, wow, I was a pretty selfish human, even if you didn't think you were. Like I said, you might have been giving away a lot of money that for you felt like, well, I could use that for something else, I'm going to give it away. I'm going to gift it to someone else. But in human terms, we felt more like we were giving it away. You know, some religions even tie certain amounts of money. It depends on, you know, how you're still looking at it. And you have to shift how you look at it. Because if you're still looking at, I have to make this much to support this life, you're still looking at it through a human lens. You're still supporting technically a human realm. You're not supporting a higher realm yet. When you're looking at it through, how much do I need to support what I have now? And that's what I used to do. I was like, okay, what can I do? Because I had a couple things I did, but I still had a human, more linear job that paid pretty much all the bills. And then I had a couple of things I was doing, but I was sitting there one day having to figure out, I was like, well, how many hours do I have to do this to even be able to match over here? Because you're still trying to support the old. Even if you might try to say, well, am I really supporting? I'm trying to support my old life, right? I'm still trying to support my old life. And that is not what I'm supposed to support with this. My old life's going to go away. What's the new reality going to look like? You might not know yet. You know, I had no idea what was in store for me. Some I've enjoyed, some I will tell you I didn't want to go do, because it was a lot of baggage and a lot of emotional clearing with a lot of that stuff. You know, there's reasons why humans avoid stuff. There's reasons why our human money has to go away, because money in the human realms can buy your way out of a lot of stuff. Where if you don't have that resource, you have to work through it on your own. You have to trudge through that reality, clear what you need to clear without having money buy your way out of it. And that's a lot of reason why we can't fall back on that. Because look at all the ways you would have tried to buy your way out of stuff that you had to go in there and do. Because if you had the cash, you would have bought your way out of it. And you see people doing that. Now when I see people do that, I'm like, well, you know, eventually it's going to come back and bite everybody in the bum, you know, because eventually your universe will take that away. It'll give you something you can't buy your way out of. That's why COVID was so big for a lot of the collectives, because you couldn't really buy your way out of it. Now, eventually it started morphing where there were people who could kind of buy their way out of certain things with it. Be able to do more than other people were able to do. Fly to different countries, or maybe not fly to different countries, but do different things, you know, memberships to certain clubs, they could do different things. So it started to shift toward the end. And in the beginning, it was kind of like everyone felt like it was, you were in it together. Then you started seeing how it started to siphon off, where it became more of a human structured. What started out as everyone was in it together was now everyone was now no one's in it together anymore. Now everyone's out for what they can get for themselves. And that's just because the human programming gets triggered, and there was a point to that too. You know, to clear all of that lack and scarcity out as much as it could, you know, with that one pivotal, you know, moment in reality. So when you start looking at money to support what you have, and this is a big one, to explain it to partners you have. You know, a lot of people think, okay, I'm going to stop doing this more traditional job, and now I'm going to do whatever it is that's more my passion, something I really enjoy doing. It's more my creative side, whatever it is for you. Your soul work is what people call it. But you have a lot of different soul works. But in our human reality, we think we only have one soul purpose. That's why everyone wants to know their soul purpose. It's like, well, you got a lot of soul purposes. That's just one. If you're trying to focus on one, you're going to miss the 1,000 other ones you have that you could be doing every day when you don't have what you think you need to do, the one you really want to be doing. You know, the thing with the soul purpose is everybody wants it to be a certain thing. They want to put a human taint on their soul purpose, because that's kind of what I want to do with it. You know, they want that sexy soul purpose. They don't want all the other, you know, all the other purposes that go, soul purposes that come with it that aren't that glamorous, you know. Trying to explain to people or partners where, no, you know, I'm just going to go do this, then we'll get money here, and then everything will stay the same over here. Well, it's not going to stay the same over here. There's no staying the same anywhere. If you're still trying to siphon money to stay the same, the shit is not going to stay the same, okay? And if it's still the same, then you're going to be in for a flip sooner or later, because it cannot stay the same. You cannot take money from higher realms and support lower realms. Normally what happens, the lower realm goes away, you get into another frequency, a different reality, and money comes in a different way in that reality. Not the way you thought, probably not the way you want. You will generate money, but you will not be generating in the amount of money you thought you were going to be generating in the beginning, and you're not going to be generating in the way you want to generate it. Does not mean you're not the cause of it. We have this very specific way. We have to do something specific. We get a paycheck, and that's how we're making money. Generating money has a different concept. It's a different concept to it. Your energy field is going to generate support. Okay? If you don't even want to call it money, you're just generating support, whatever that is. Some of it might be monetary. Someone might just say, hey, you can live here because I need someone to watch the property for me, you know? But we look at it through that human lens for a long time, and we have so much judgment about it because we're trying to compare it back to human standards. We don't know how to live in higher realms, in a collective consciousness, in unity consciousness. We don't know what that means. Unity consciousness means everyone's working together and bringing together what they have to support the whole. That's basically unity consciousness. It's not everyone's going to do something over here they really don't want to do to support themselves. But I got to do this one thing because this is how I can support myself, because this is the one thing I have that is valued by human society that's going to generate money. So I'm going to do this, but I really don't even like it that much. Some people might like it, but normally after a while they don't like it that much. And that's what I'm going to do. But it's just for me. And I'll give you a teeny bit, but the rest of it's just for me. It doesn't matter how much, you know, you have or you don't have. It's just this is mine, and whatever's happening with everybody else is up to them. you really are seeing that there's so much going on in the collectives right now. If you watch the collectives, so many things are splitting. So it have been splitting off. Now it's just completely, it's like the that fruit slicing video, not video game. Fruits and fruit, samurai fruit or something. Well, they're just slicing and die. That's basically what's happening in the collectives. They're completely just getting all splintered apart. You think you're in one collective with this, and then there's 18 subsets of that collective, and then you're in this collective, and there's 18 subsets of that one, and then that one gets divided up farther. Everyone's getting split off, split off, split off. Part of that is so everyone can find their own identity, and part of that is to really start exposing a lot of what has been going on in the human collectives for years, and all the things that we've been told, and it's really everything we've been told. It doesn't matter what side is telling you. It's all human consciousness driven. None of it is technically true. So as you go through the very much shifts of how you're compensated, maybe we need to end the video on how you're compensated, because that's probably where you're going to end up with it. Really look at what the purpose of money is for you still, and I can remember when it started shifting for me, when I started saying, okay, how much and your universe will bring you down to, okay, how much do you need to really, really live? Like, let's get real here. What do you really need? And if you need money for something extra, we'll bring you that money for something extra. If you say, oh, I really need to go or do this project, it's going to cost me $400. And all of a sudden $400 comes in, you can do the project. You're going to have moments that happen like that. And you're going to have other times where you're like, I just have what I need. But that's for your universe to show you, okay, this is what you need. Okay? All the other human stuff, you don't need all that. This is what you actually require to have food, to have shelter. That's what you have to have. Okay? Now we're going to build from that. And you can see, okay, what else do I need? And above that, what else can I share? And that is not, the human consciousness goes, okay, now I have basic needs met. Now I want to go higher and higher and higher. And I want to build everything. I need 4 cars because I just need all that thing. I need 2 homes, or I need a huge home, or I need to be able to go on really expensive vacations. And these are all the things I need, but those are what the human needs. It's not what the soul needs. It doesn't mean you might not feel called to take a trip, and the money will come for that. And there might be times when you're generating a lot of money, because you're needing a lot of money to accomplish all the stuff you need to accomplish, and you need the money to keep your frequency high. So there will be a time when you're going to require more money, and you'll be making more money, but the next year you might not require as much, and you might not be making as much. But a human consciousness would say, every year I need to make more and more and more and more, because the human consciousness always wants more and more and more and more and more. That's what it's built on, baby. I mean, it is bigger and better and more, and that's what it is. And every year it's going to want that more, 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 more. Give me more, give me more, give me more, because it's trying to fill that hole, trying to distract itself from how unhappy it is, right? So you're never going to meet a happy human. Doesn't happen, because we can't sustain happiness. We can hit it and have a happy moment, but we don't sustain it. That's why when you hit that happy moment, you go, oh, I really feel happy, because it's not an everyday thing. It is a once in a however time. Maybe it's once a day, maybe it's once a month, maybe it's once a year, where you can think back and go, wow, I really feel happy now. But it's not a constant thing. You're gonna see when you get to the other side of it, and that's probably the best way I can explain it. When you start to see other people doing it, the immense, all the stuff they have to have, the limits they have on what they will do. I will only, it has to be this way. I will watch a lot of people, and they will take a reality that, okay, their universe will give them so much money to do this reality. But then they put so many limits on the reality, and all the things that have to happen. It has to be this person I have to do the reality with. It has to be in this spot. It has to be this house. It has to be and now we've created all these parameters around it. And now this reality that could have cost $3,000 is now $20,000. And the universe is not going to give you the $20,000. because you don't need all the stuff, the limits you put on the reality. Those are what our humans put on the reality because we want it to be a certain way. You know, it's a zillion different ways it's going to be. What do you have the money to do right now? What do you have the time to do right now? And a lot of the things, especially the last couple years for me, and especially this past 6 months, is, okay, what do I have the time to do right now? Because I know that a lot of this reality is going to shift. And the time I have to redo a lot of stuff right now and the projects I'm trying to get set up for next year, do them now, because you're not going to have time to do those later. So in a way, I'm getting a kickstart in 2026. And I'm putting a couple pins in 2025, but I'm kickstarting 2026 because there's going to be other things that are going to be wrapping up in 2026 that I'm going to need to put my energy toward there and my soul light toward that. So don't get bogged down on having it to be a certain way, because when you do that, that's when you get miserable. And that's when a lot of our humans got miserable. Had to be a certain person, had to be a certain college, had to be this certain job, had to be the certain cup of coffee. We will put limits on everything because that's how we want to control it. Because if we open ourselves up to it, then it's not going to be. It's that line in I think it was in Grease. It's probably in a lot of movies. I remember it in Grease when the girl says, "Well, you know, beauty school's not what I thought it would be," and the other waitress is like, "Yeah, well, nothing ever is, honey. It's never what you thought it was going to be." Because you don't even have the concept of what it could be. But because it doesn't meet that human sniff test in a sense, where another human would look at that and go, yeah, thumbs up on that. Thumbs up on that reality. That looks nice. A human is never going to look at your ascended reality and go, thumbs up. It's going to look at your ascended reality and go, what a fucking mess. I cannot believe you destroyed your whole human life for this. But you're going to look at their reality and go, wow, that is a effed up reality. That human reality is miserable, and I'm so glad I'm not there. So keep in mind how you're viewing it. And I guess that's it. We're going to wrap it. So, okay, keep practicing the art of intuition.